Ashley is one of the most controversial characters from the Until Dawn fandom. Some people love her, and some people hate her. With all of the Ashley back and forth in the fandom, one thing that we can conclude for sure is that Ashley is a complex character. When it comes to Ashley, there's a lot to talk about. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do today. We're gonna do a deep dive into her character in what I'd like to call the Ashley Brown analysis. A quick spoiler warning, as I will be mentioning events that are deep into the game. Let's jump right into it. So what basic information do we know about Ashley? Ashley Brown is one of the main playable characters in Until Dawn. She has reddish hair, green eyes, and she's always seen wearing a beanie. Well, almost always. When Ashley is first introduced in the game, she's described with 3 adjectives. Academic, which is someone who's interested in scholarly pursuits. Inquisitive, which is someone who's curious or questioning. And forthright, which is someone who's honest and direct. In the remake, forthright is removed, and it's instead replaced with the adjective sensitive, meaning easily upset or affected by circumstances. Upon viewing Ashley's traits at the start of the game, her highest trait is curious, and her lowest traits are brave, funny, and romantic. Regarding her relationships, she is closest with Chris and has the weakest relationship with Mike. The Until Dawn companion app released in 2015 gives us even more information about Ashley's character. It tells us that Ashley is 18 during the events of the game, and that she loves reading books, hates scary movies, and dreams about being an author. The guide notes that she's very smart, as she's often seen hanging out in the library reading a book or studying. It also tells us that she's got an overactive imagination and that she hates anything scary. Lastly, it talks a little bit about her relationship with Chris. They're study partners and they spend a lot of time together. Until Dawn's press kit edition included a yearbook on all of the characters, which tells us even more information about Ashley. She's listed as most likely to publish a novel. She sees herself in 10 years as a struggling writer in Greenwich Village. And she says her favorite quote is, "Someone has to die in order that the rest of us should value life more." So there are several things that we can deduce about Ashley from all of this information. Firstly, as an academic with a study partner, it's clear that Ashley really cares about school. While it's confirmed that Emily has a 4.0 GPA,
4.0 bitch, on a roll,
it wouldn't be too far-fetched to assume that Ashley is also doing pretty well in school. On a similar note, it's interesting that she studies with Chris even though he's a year older than her. This could hint that Ashley potentially took some advanced classes in high school, or that she took some courses above her grade year. Of all of the school subjects, we can conclude that her favorite subject is likely English, considering her love of books and her desire to be an author. We can also guess that one of her favorite hobbies might be writing. Her inquisitiveness, as well as her curiosity, shows us that one of her leading traits is her interested and questioning nature. We can predict that she's likely the kind of person to ask a lot of questions.
Then who would set this all up? Seriously, I'm asking.
Or put in the work to discover answers. Her original forthright trait suggested that she was a blunt and straightforward character, but because this trait was removed in the remake, it can be assumed that Ashley expressing her true feelings and telling it like it is no longer a key part of her character. Or at least not compared to her sensitivity towards the events around her. Because her relationship is strongest with Chris, it's possible that he's the reason that she joined the main friend group. He might have been the one to introduce her. However, her second highest relationships are equally with Josh, Matt, and Sam. So I think there's potential that if Chris wasn't the one to bring her into the group, it could have been one of those 3. As the game continues, we're given confirmation on a lot of these things. When the spirit board scene begins revealing potential information about Hannah and Beth, Ashley is quick to ask questions and seek information.
I think we should do what it says. We should look in the library.
Emphasizing her curious nature. This curiosity persists throughout the game and even remains towards the end, where Ashley is the one to collect the stranger's book and start researching information about Wendigos. Ashley's sensitivity is also emphasized greatly throughout the game. The events around her are shown to take a huge toll on her mental state. For instance, as she and Chris are exploring the lodge looking for Sam, she makes her increased fear and anxiety known, constantly expressing reluctance to continue, demonstrating to Chris just how much everything has been affecting her.
Chris, I don't know if I want to keep going.
There are also little tidbits in the game where we can discover additional information about Ashley. One of these moments takes place in conversation with Dr. Hill, where he can reveal that Ashley has an intense fear of the dark.
Ashley has quite a fear of the dark.
At another point, Chris mentions that Ashley is a recent convert.
Ashley, since you're a recent convert, why don't you be our medium for today?
Convert as a noun refers to a person who has recently adopted a new religion, belief, or ideology. So maybe Ashley has just come into a new religion or spirituality, or maybe she's just left one. Point being is that Ashley has likely had some involvement in something spiritual at some point in time. Now let's talk about Ashley's personality type. First, let's talk about Ashley's Myers-Briggs type. The Myers-Briggs type indicator is a personality system that divides people into one of 16 different personality types based on how they perceive and process information. So how does this pertain to Ashley? Well, one key element of Ashley's character is her memory. On multiple occasions, Ashley is seen storing different pieces of information or different experiences into her memory and then referring back to them later. This shows that Ashley is a strong introverted sensor.
What that means?
Well, when an introverted sensor stimulates one or more of their 5 senses, they're taken back to a time where they've experienced something similar. They can then easily compare present sensations and events back to those stored memories. Being a strong introverted sensor would also mean that Ashley has weaker extroverted intuition.
What that means?
Extroverted intuition perceives information through possibilities and what-ifs, so if somebody has weaker extroverted intuition, they likely associate a lot of discomfort and anxiety with unknowns and what-ifs. Now this really makes sense for Ashley because one of the most noticeable things about her character is how she is very fearful and anxious, particularly when it comes to possibilities or the unknown. The moment Ashley notices something out of place, her brain starts exploding into anxiety about all these hypothetical scenarios. Emily got bitten by a Wendigo. What if that means she's going to turn into a Wendigo? What if that means she's going to turn on us? What if that means I'm in danger? This shows that Ashley struggles with extroverted intuition. Another thing about Ashley that might be a little less obvious is that she doesn't really go against the grain, so to speak. Ashley is more likely to follow the crowd than to go her own way.
Forgot you were such a willful participant.
What she personally considers right and wrong isn't as important to her as aligning herself with the people around her. This shows that Ashley is likely an extroverted feeler. Extroverted feelers rely on the external, social world for things relating to feelings and values. For extroverted feelers, social norms tend to take priority over individual beliefs, and motivation and reassurance is hard to find within oneself. These people usually look to others for guidance in these areas. From Ashley following all of the others and playing the prank, to Ashley constantly relying on Chris for external motivation and support, the external world of feelings and values seems to be a priority to Ashley, making her an extroverted feeler. One more key element of Ashley's personality that we have mentioned before is her curiosity. It's important for Ashley to understand things. Ashley is constantly trying to figure out what is going on and what does all of it mean.
I can't shake the feeling that those fake newspapers have something to do with the guy who killed Josh.
Wait, like what? Like it's a setup or something?
Yeah, but I mean, how? It almost makes sense, but it just feels like we're missing something.
This shows that Ashley uses introverted thinking, which prioritizes reaching a deep and personal understanding when it comes to various concepts and situations. So, having the function order of introverted sensing, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, and extroverted intuition makes Ashley the ISFJ personality type. For reference, some other ISFJ video game characters include Kara from Detroit Become Human.
All of a sudden, I felt like her life was more important than mine. I had to protect her.
Kate from Life is Strange.
I'm kind of over humanity today. Sorry to be a drama queen.
And our very own Matt Taylor.
Stop yelling at me and let me work this out, okay?
Let's also talk about Ashley's Enneagram type. The Enneagram is a personality system that classifies people into one of 9 types based on their core motivations and fears. Notice that whenever Ashley is talking about her fears and anxieties, the underlying theme is always, could this put me in danger? Could Emily's bite put me in danger? Could exploring the depths of this lodge further put me in danger? Ashley is constantly on the lookout for situations that could breach her safety, because it's important to her to always remain safe and secure.
You can't let me die!
All of this points to the Enneagram 6 personality type. Enneagram 6s are characterized by their core desire for support and security. 6s naturally deal with a lot of anxiety, so they're constantly working to build up some sort of safety in their environment in order to protect themselves. Now the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. Is Ashley really a bad person? From what I've seen, the main controversies about whether or not she's a good or bad person arise in when Ashley turns on Emily when she discovers her bite, and when Ashley can leave Chris outside to die. So let's analyze these moments in the scope of what we've learned about her character. When Ashley discovers that Emily's been bitten by a Wendigo, Ashley is quick to react, convinced that Emily's gonna turn into a Wendigo. Ashley insists that Emily leaves. Now, was Ashley's reaction here irrational? Maybe, but was it out of character? Definitely not. We know from what's mentioned earlier about Ashley's aspiration and hobbies that she has a big imagination. So it makes sense for her mind to go to some maybe not super realistic scenarios here. However, you may be wondering, well wait, Ashley's supposed to be inquisitive and curious. Why isn't her initial reaction to seeing the bite to investigate it first and react later? This answer is something that I think can be explained through her Enneagram type. Enneagram as a system is what defines motivations, which are the reasons behind why we do what we do. As an Enneagram 6, Ashley's main motivation is ensuring her safety and security. Maybe if Ashley were a type 5, which is the investigator, Ashley would be more inclined to use her curiosity as her main motivator. But instead, as a type 6, it does make sense that she would be quick to take whatever actions keep her safe and protected. So I also feel like the question has to be asked, what does it say about Ashley's charitability that she's willing to leave Emily to die in order to preserve her own safety? I would say it doesn't mean that Ashley is not kind necessarily, it just means that her safety is her number one motivator. We can also see this when Ashley is looking for Sam with Chris. The charitable thing to do would be to keep looking for Sam no matter what, but Ashley is constantly hesitating and expressing her desire to stop looking. Ashley's fears outweigh her kindness. In other words, her lack of bravery is more significant than her amount of charitability. Overall, when it comes to choosing to indulge in her curiosity or kindness or keep herself safe, Ashley will always be inclined to prioritize her safety. I think this better explains why she makes a lot of the decisions that she makes, including why she reacts to Emily's bite the way that she does. When given the option, if Chris attempts to shoot Ashley, this moment becomes pivotal for Ashley's character. This is because later, when Chris returns to the lodge and is in danger, Ashley does not let him inside, which causes his death. To better get an idea of what Ashley was thinking here, let's reflect back to when we talked about her Myers-Briggs personality type, which is ISFJ. As an ISFJ, Ashley is strongest in introverted sensing, which means that she's prone to internalizing and storing information and referring back to it later. In the original scene, we can see that when Ashley sees Chris outside of the door, she is taken right back to the moment where he attempted to shoot her. As a strong introverted sensor, it is fully natural for Ashley to refer back to moments that left a strong impact on her and use them to guide her judgments and actions. That being said, we have to ask the question, was Ashley not letting Chris inside deliberate? In other words, did Ashley purposefully leave Chris out there to die? Now, I think there are definitely some tangible arguments for both cases, yes and no. If we're thinking yes, it was completely intentional, there are definitely points to support that in our Ashley Brown analysis. For example, given what I just said about that introverted sensing, she could be using that moment that she's reflecting on to shape her actions deliberately. Looking at her relationships, her bond also drops to 0 with Chris if he attempts to shoot her, showing that she no longer has any warm feelings towards him. And in turn, no real motive to rescue him when he's in need. The idea that this was deliberate by Ashley is also supported by the trophy that the player receives upon shooting Ashley as Chris, called Fatal Grudge. Just the name of the trophy itself seems to really foreshadow Ashley's actions. A grudge is a persistent feeling of resentment, usually due to something bad that someone has done in the past. And fatal, of course, means something that causes death. So altogether, a fatal grudge is a level of hostility that somehow causes death. This could be what happens when Ashley leaves Chris outside. Her resentment towards him because of what he did to her winds up causing his death. Another supporting point for this argument comes from some of the developers themselves. In this gameplay livestream, they note that they think that Ashley did mean to purposefully leave Chris outside.
I think Ashley, that was quite deliberate by Ashley not letting Chris in, yes. I think that's definitely the case.
Because of what had gone on before.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there could be a case for no, Ashley didn't deliberately leave Chris outside to die. She really just froze up like she said she did.
I couldn't move. I was so scared.
Thinking back to Ashley's core traits, we know that Ashley is sensitive, meaning that her mental and emotional state is impacted very heavily by the information she takes in. Keep in mind that she's also a sensing personality type, so her sensitivity to her surroundings must be pretty high. I think that on a psychological level, and given what we know about Ashley's personality and character traits, It is reasonable to conclude that Ashley was just very overwhelmed by the events of that night. Something else to support this idea could be the trophy received at the end of the chapter for this event taking place, Ashley snaps. Thinking about snapping being synonymous to breaking, I think that this trophy could be an indicator of Ashley's mentality breaking and her overall mental stability completely shattering. This absolutely could lead to a mental freeze-up, leading to physical inaction. In other words, a trauma response. Now, it is important to note how this moment changed in the remake of the game. So when Chris returns to the lodge, now instead of Ashley standing by the door and keeping it locked so he can't get in, Ashley is now further away from the door, looking very distracted. And as a stark change from the original, Ashley does decide to open the door for him. But she's too late. Those original achievements that I mentioned earlier, the Ashley Snaps and the Fatal Grudge, those were removed and replaced with a new trophy called Nightmare on Ash Street. The description of this new achievement is, Ashley hesitated and failed to let Chris inside in time. This new description erases a lot of the ambiguity from this moment. Chris's death wasn't necessarily caused by Ashley freezing up, nor was it caused by Ashley deliberately leaving Chris outside to die. It was because she hesitated. While this change makes her character a little less decisive, it still fits in with what we know about her character. As Ashley paces back and forth, she's clearly deep in thought about something, likely the night's events. And this makes sense for an introverted sensing type to be heavily reflective on what happened previously. Additionally, Ashley's low bravery, as well as her Enneagram 6, could indicate a hesitance to take action if it means potentially being put in a dangerous situation. That's all that we've got for you. What did you think about this analysis of Ashley's character? Let me know in the comments. And if you found any of this interesting, it would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed. I've been so excited to see where this small channel goes, and your support means the world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!